Hello again from Central Virginia on this lovely June afternoon. Today I'm going to work on my tomatoes some more. A couple of days ago I did my aspirin treatment. In another week or so I'm going to be doing my hydrogen peroxide treatment. But today I'm going to do just some tying up of my vines because they're getting to the point where they're starting to flop over. They have been in the ground since I guess maybe the last week in April or so. At least some of them have. And it's time to tie them up and also to do a little bit of trimming on my indeterminate tomatoes. You know, when I was first gardening, which wasn't all that long ago, I found it really helpful just to watch YouTube videos and to see people just doing normal things that they do in their garden every day. And so really that's a lot of what I do. I'm not an expert, but I found it helpful myself to see whether the things I was seeing in my garden were similar things to what other people were seeing. I would learn a lot of little tips and tricks along the way, and it was just a good way to begin sort of feeling that I was part of a bigger community than just me, myself, and I doing this garden. So anyway, that's a little bit about why I do what I do and how I do it. So today I'm going to use my very favorite tie-up, which is knee-high stockings. I had to buy some new ones because I'm running out of the old ones. I don't work anymore, and even when I did, I really didn't use these all that much, but they sure are useful for tying up vegetables because they're stretchy, they're durable, you can use them from season to season. When it rains, they drain out pretty quickly and air out pretty quickly. So what's not to like about good old knee-high stockings? You can also use, I've also torn up pieces of sweatshirt and things like that, but I found that's just a little bit heavier, not nearly as stretchy, which is quite nice when you're working with heavy vines. So let's go ahead and get to some of my indeterminate tomatoes. All right, candidate number one. This is my one and only Kellogg breakfast tomato. This is a yellow tomato. Now the first thing I'm going to do is pull off the suckers. And those are the ones that are coming out of in between the main stem. They're starting a new stem to grow out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off so that most of the growth energy of the plant goes into producing fruit. I just want to have this one main leader. Actually, I've got a second leader coming up here, which I'm going to allow. So I'm just going to take my knee-high stocking. Oh, I've already got some blossoms starting to form on this. It's nice. These are indeterminate tomatoes, and if you don't know the difference between determinate and indeterminate tomatoes, it's simply what all tomatoes are a vine. It's when they produce their fruit and their growth habit. In a determinate tomato, which I actually have one over there we're going to tie up to, a determinate tomato grows and pretty much sets all of its fruit within about a 2 to 3 week period, and then the plant's done. Sometimes you can coax a second flush out of them, sometimes not. A determinate tomato just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And it'll just keep producing fruit as long as the plant is healthy. So that's a great way to stagger out your tomatoes harvest throughout the year. So this one's going to continue to grow. Probably as it gets a little bit bigger, I'll put another tie up, but it doesn't need it right now. This tomato plant right here is my plant number 2, and it's an Illinois Star. This is a new variety for me. Now, it's important to go ahead and trim off the lowest branches of your plant. And I'm going to go ahead and trim this one off. This is actually another leader, a second leader that's starting up. I just want 1 leader per plant. And the same goes with this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And you might go, oh, that's so horrible to do. The plant's going to suffer. The plant is not going to suffer. The plant is going to actually produce bigger and more robust fruit. Now, I've got a plant. This is actually going to be another leader. I think I might actually leave that one alone. And it's important to pull out your suckers. You see how this is a leaf right here. This is a leaf on the opposite side. And it's got 2 little branches growing out. Now, that would become a whole nother growing branch, but I'm going to prune them off. Those are called suckers. And by doing that, I'm going to have all of the energy of this plant going in to growing the main vine and the fruit. These are the beginning of the flowers on this plant. This plant also has these flowers right here starting to bloom. All right, so now I see one other thing I'm going to trim. This is a very, very beaten up branch, and I don't like the looks of it. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim that right off. There was one that was diseased here. It's a really good idea to trim off the lowest branches and leaves from your plant. Ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and take this one off too, believe it or not. You might say, oh my God, you're just killing the plant. I'm not killing the plant. I'm actually keeping the plant from getting too much splashback from the soil, which might be harboring any kind of viruses or bacterium that are harmful to the plant. And this will continue to grow up and up and up. Now this little guy is actually a determinant tomato. It's called a red pride, and it's really leaning over far too much. And so it's starting to grow in a viney way, which is the natural way that tomatoes want to grow. They can grow along the ground and be just fine. They're just going to get more diseases, and it's going to be easier for little critters to come along and eat your fruit, which you just don't want to have happen. So this guy is up now, and it's got good fruit set on it, or it's got the flowers there. I'm not going to trim the suckers off of my determinant tomatoes. You don't need to do that. But I am going to trim off any leaves that don't look super, super duper healthy. And that's one. This was on the ground too long. My bad. My bad, my bad. So I am going to trim these off of the plant because I don't like the looks of them. And it'll be okay. This plant will be just fine. It wants to grow out this way. In another couple days, I'll pull it up and kind of put it back around here so it grows and can be against this. I haven't grown a red pride before. These seeds were from botanical gardens. I'm always interested in growing new varieties. While I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and tie up that pepper plant too. It's getting quite warm out here now that the sun came back out. Well, I'm just going to continue to tie up the rest of my tomatoes. In a future video, I'm going to show you how I make another kind of trellis system for my sauce patch, and I do that with something called the Florida weave. But that's for another day. Till then, take care. Hope your garden's growing well, and thanks for watching. Bye. Oh man, I did a real no-no. I left this gate open. I'm not using my head. Those bunny rabbits would be in here in 2 seconds.